24 out of 25 balls we caught in one game. That's unbelievable. It gives our players confidence, it gives the fans confidence, it gives our whole team confidence, and gives the head coach a lot of confidence.
Okay, we're back. And again, the Tua press conference was interesting, talked about some of the different people with whom he has consulted, including Bo Jackson, but he said no specific announcement on when he would make a determination about coming back or going pro. Let's get to the calls and talk to Bear, who's in Alabama. That seems to make sense. Bear?
Hello.
Hey, Bear.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
I'm well, Bear. Thank you very much.
I can't believe I'm talking to you, man. This is great.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Man, I love your show. I saw them giving you a protest in Utah. I don't understand that.
Well, you know, if you've ever been to Utah, which I haven't, I doubt there's very much to do. So I'm happy they found some entertainment.
Yeah, I worked at Chevron in Salt Lake City, Utah. The year Urban Meyer beat Alabama in the bowl game.
Well, that's right. He
which
coached
was
out
shocking.
there. Yeah, by the way, it wasn't Urban. It was Kyle Willingham.
You're right.
Whittingham.
Urban went to Florida.
Whittingham. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, my bad. But yeah, Paul, I just call and tell you you're doing a good job, man. The SEC's got this locked up regardless. Georgia or LSU is going to win it.
Well, thank you very much. And I just remember. I mean, Whittingham has been there a long time. He was the coach who beat Saban in 2008. He's got a good resume. I mean, Whittingham. He's been there. He was an assistant under Urban. He's been the head coach since 2006. That's a long time to be at someplace. He's had some good records. I mean, a couple of 10 and 11 win seasons, including this year. Good for him. Russ is up next. Hey, Russ, nice of you to call. No Russ. How about Bobby in Georgia? Bobby, you're on the air. Go right ahead.
Good to talk to you again, Paul.
Thank you.
And but to get back to Alabama, I believe a lot of the problem has come. You've mentioned it in some of the shows you've been on, but when Kirby left, you know, there was consistency there with Kirby and Nick, and then as he left, then the fill-in that Jeremy came in, but he had Kirby's defense guys, and then after he left, of course, it's kind of fallen off. And
yeah, but don't remember what else happened. Kirby had Mel Tucker as well, and that was a dynamic combination.
Yes, sir. And you know, one thing I've learned, I've coached high school football too. You got to have consistency, and the turnover has caught up with them, and I believe that's where a lot of it has. And
I think you're right.
You know, Kirby knows Alabama. I mean, 9 years there, you're going to learn a lot from Nick, and he's learned a lot. So, you know, it'll be something. I believe Alabama will come back, but I just think that they talk about the eye test in that group, and you're going to tell me that team lost by 2 games by 9 points, and they're going to fall under some of these other teams.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Bobby, you're a coach. You could get 100 high school coaches and put them in a room and watch game film, and Alabama would still grade out among the top 5 or 6 in the country.
No doubt. And you know, it's but you got to have consistency. I mean, even in high school, you know, we might have had 5 or 7 coaches, and you had 45, 50 players. But you know, in college, you got probably 20. And you know, if you don't have the consistency to help, because one coach can't do it. Nick's a great coach, but one coach cannot do it. I mean, there's no way you can coach up all those guys. You got to have good people under, just like Dabo. When Dabo loses his guys, you will see a different team. And, you know, that's why I think, if you remember, I told you about 5 weeks ago that I didn't think Alabama and Clemson would be in the finals. But I didn't know that Tua was going to get hurt neither. But I honestly believe that, you know, even with Clemson getting in, I think the first team that plays them, they're really going to be a difference on that. And I think they won't make it to the finals neither.
Thank you very much. Bobby, really nice of you to call. Always great to hear from coaches. How about Jim in Tennessee? Hello, Jim.
Hey, Paul. How you doing today?
I'm well. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, just so you know, I'm the same guy that called in about the 80 straight Egg Bowls for the gentleman from Winona, Mississippi.
Oh, sure.
But, anyway, I just want to note that not only was my dad wrong in his prediction about how that ball game would fall out, but you were wrong too.
Oh no! Listen, I think I was wrong about everything that I predicted last week.
That's okay. We've all been there. But I'm not going to rub your nose in it. And I didn't rub my nose in my dad's. But one thing I do want to point out that I think some people have kind of pinpointed is I think Matt Luke wanted to be his player's friend and not be the head coach. And I look back, you have to have both. You can't be their best friend. I played under one of the toughest guys on the planet in John David Crow
at
Louisiana Monroe.
I know John.
And he was not your friend.
No. Well, you know one thing that bothered me, Jim? When I heard what Luke said about Elijah after the game, it bothered me in the sense that I know why he said it, but that wasn't the right message to send out at that time.
Right. And here's another good example of somebody that was definitely a strict disciplinarian but couldn't win on a consistent basis, and that's Sylvester Croom.
Oh, absolutely.
Sylvester Croom had the program torqued down after it had kind of run off the tracks, but he couldn't win consistently. So I guess that's a long way of asking my question. In your opinion, who does Ole Miss go after that can fill both of those needs? The need for somebody that can get control of the program again and win consistently.
You know, Jim, before I answer, let's talk about some of the names that are being mentioned. Let's take Norvell out of the mix. I don't think he's going there. I think he's going to FSU. So where does that leave Ole Miss? I mean, I've heard names. You've heard names. I've heard Napier's name. I've heard Willie Fritz. Lane Kiffin has come into this thing late. Now, whether there's enough momentum, I don't know, but I have heard some of the things that Kiffin might bring to the table, and they would be very impressive. What have you heard?
I've heard just about every name out there. Of course, being here in Memphis, Norvell, his name is bandied around for just about every opening there is. If he goes anywhere, I think you're right in that Florida State would probably be a good fit for him. Whether he goes or not, I really don't know. I don't know why he would leave, but here again, I'm kind of a Memphis fan too. So
sure.
I don't know who fills those shoes. I've heard Justin Fuente, who was also here in Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, I have to wonder about Fuente and Virginia Tech. To me, it seems like a shaky marriage.
It does to me as well. I was always kind of skeptical of that when he left. But he's been fairly successful. It's going to be interesting to see. You know, I'm not one of those guys that truly hates Ole Miss, or I grew up a Bulldog. My dad played ball there and all that. But they're a fine institution.
Let me ask you about Moorhead. I saw the other day where the attendance had been down more than it had in recent memory. Winning that game is important, but what is his stature a week after the Egg Bowl? What are fans saying about him right now?
Well, you had those naysayers that are kind of coming back towards the middle now and saying, okay, we'll give him another chance. Give him another chance. It's amazing how short memories are.
Oh, sure.
People forget that 2 years before Dan Mullen left, he was 5-7 and lost to South Alabama. So I think you got to, and that's been my stance all along, Paul. You got to give the guy a chance. And if they'd have let him go after this year, I don't think that would have been fair to him. Let's see what this year. The Mississippi State fan base, they want to win on a consistent basis. That's what they want to do. They want to be competitive with Alabama and LSU and Auburn and Ole Miss and everybody in the West. And you're not going to win all those games all the time, even if you are competitive. But at least be competitive and don't lose a game to, even though Tennessee came on late in the year, early on they weren't a very good football team.
They were terrible.
Yeah, and you lose those kind of games that you ought to win. They should have won the Kansas State game. So there's two games right there that could have stopped a lot of the naysayers.
Nice of you to call, Jim. Thank you very, very much. Let's continue with more calls at 855-242-7285. And Jerry is in North Carolina. Hello, Jerry.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Last time I talked to you was in July of 2013 when I was living in Alabama, but I still listen to you the same every day.
Thank you very much.
I just had a quick question. When Uncle Mac Brown and nephew Dabo Swinney, when he got the job at Clemson, Dabo went out to see Uncle Mac and stayed about 3 weeks, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, to learn a system, and he's done very well. But in the game they played this year in Chapel Hill, regular time ended in a tie. And so everybody calls their team out on the sideline and huddles up and goes 4-4-4. Well, Clemson really didn't even come off the field. Their team didn't come off the field when he decided that he was going to go for a 2-point conversion rather than, a tie. They just stayed on the field, didn't move. So when Carolina came back on the field and ran that play, it didn't go anywhere. They lost 2 yards, and they lost the game. So that tells me, or makes me wonder, Dabo, being a Christian and a gentleman, did he and Mac come up with that plan? Because Clemson didn't move a player at all when Carolina lined up to go for the 2-point conversion. And so it sounds like to me if that had happened, if Carolina had won that game, then the ACC wouldn't have had anybody in the playoffs. And I just wonder what you feel.
Listen, I know both coaches fairly well, and it's hard for me to believe that there was any collusion. Mac Brown's a competitor. I truly believe he wanted to win that game, but I don't think Mac Brown's overly concerned about the ACC standing. He's concerned about the University of North Carolina. Great to have you on. We must go to a break. Glenn Gilbo from Louisiana will join us to give his unique take on the SEC. Belk winning with style. Georgia versus LSU in the SEC championship game. Yep, they've met a few times before. 11, 05, 03, and of course this year. This is the second most often matchup. Do you know what the first is? Alabama and Florida. And we welcome you back. We talked to Chip Towers earlier, and he felt like Georgia had a chance. We weren't exactly sure the path, but that's what we'll show up for the game for. What about LSU? Coming off of its most dominating win of the year, it seemed like LSU thought last week was the SEC championship game. Glenn Gilbo covers the Tigers, and Glenn, always great to have you on. So we know LSU is in, and we know Ed Ogeron says that doesn't mean anything. But what do you think? You cover this team. You know their psyche. Shouldn't be hard to get up for the SEC championship game, except that they're already in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely be up for it because they haven't been in this game in so long, and there's a lot of kids from Louisiana on the team, and they were 13, 12 years old the last time LSU was in this championship game in 2011. So guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Rashard Lawrence, I think it means a lot to them just in itself, the SEC championship game. So I don't think that's going to be a problem.
If LSU doesn't win, what do you think the problem? Where do you think the problems will come from?
Well, if they don't win, they'll still make the playoffs. But if they don't win, I think it's going to be because of Georgia's defense. I think this is the best defense LSU will play this season, even after this game. Kirby rotates 30 people. He's on defense. He's got rush specialists. He's got the best group of cornerbacks and DBs that LSU is going to play. And, Burrow's never really been pressured that much this season. They run a quick pass offense. So and Jamar Chase has never been covered really this season. So if he can be covered by one of the Georgia cornerbacks, and if they can get some pressure on Burrow, it might be a different game than LSU's used to.
Glenn, we thought there was a chance LSU was trending toward a special season. You told us back in the spring you thought LSU could still make the playoff, even losing to Alabama. Well, so much has changed since then. I am interested in this, though. With LSU's success, and I know there will always be changes with Burrow leaving, what's the feeling inside that program, the momentum, the trajectory, now that not only has LSU beaten Alabama, but so has Auburn?
Yeah. Well, I think the main feeling for LSU people is they got to keep Joe Brady, the pass game coordinator. That's number one goal there is keeping him. You know Joe Burrow is leaving, and I think Joe Burrow definitely helped make Joe Brady a superstar pass game coordinator as Brady helped Burrow become a superstar quarterback. But, the litmus test will be how Joe Brady does with Miles Brennan or one of the freshmen next year. But they definitely have to keep him, or, this could be like a one-year wonder. But they do have better quarterbacks coming in down the road, and if they can keep Joe Brady for a couple of years, they had the number 3 class last year. They have the number 1 class right now. This program could be good for quite a few years.
Let's take that from two angles. What does Joe Brady make now, and what could he end up making?
He makes only $400,000 right now.
That's terrible.
And he possibly could become the offensive coordinator for LSU next year, and they could move Steve Ensminger back to maybe a quarterback coach or a tight ends coach, which he was before, and which he was kind of happy doing, and bump Brady up to 1.5 or $2 million or something like that to keep him, because there's already rumors that people are looking for him or trying to hire him, like Texas, and if they keep winning and go to the national championship and win it, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people trying to get Joe Brady. Maybe even some mid-major colleges trying to hire him as a head coach, which I don't think he's ready for yet, but. You never know. He may even he's got some NFL experience. He could get.
By the way, I don't mean to be is Joe Brady old enough to drive yet?
He's 30. He just makes 30.
Okay.
Which he's only a few years older than some of LSU players. Zach Von Rosenberg is almost 30. LSU's punter. He played professional baseball for a while.
That's amazing.
Joe Brady is a kid.
Is it your best guess that given the money, which is a lot, he will stay?
I think he'll stay. I mean, he has no ties to LSU at all. He's from Florida. He played football on the East Coast. But I think he feels indebted to LSU for them giving him this chance, as well he should. I mean, he was a GA with the Saints, kind of a third-level assistant. And Ed Orgeron gave him the offense, So I'm sure he's very appreciative of that, and he's got to give LSU at least one more year. I would hope, unless somebody goes crazy and offers him some kind of head coaching job, and we have seen that happen. I mean, look, Freddie Kitchens got that job with Cleveland. I mean, I could see the same thing happening to Brady on the college.
Come on,
level.
there's no way Brady could be as terrible a coach as Freddie Kitchens.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that hopefully people will see those mistakes, that maybe some coaches got jobs too early and they can hurt themselves. Lane Kiffin got a head coaching job too early with the Raiders.
He did.
I don't think Joe was quite ready yet for that.
In terms of Orgeron, it just seems like he's still the same guy. Is that accurate?
Oh, no question. Ed has the soul of an assistant coach. Assistant coaches tend to be more well-liked by the players and by the media sometimes. And he's been a great head coach, a great CEO head coach, but he's still kind of like an assistant, I think. But, I mean, he's just doing a phenomenal job. I mean, one of the best things he's done is the hires he's made, like Joe Brady, like Greg McMahon, that coached the special teams, also a former Saint coach. His offensive line coach, his secondary coach have been great hires, and he's recruited extremely well, which everybody knew about, but he's also up in D.C. and California, areas that LSU hasn't been in, and he's really doing well there.
Glenn, assuming everything works out well with a win, where are you on this great debate, and how important do you think it is? Seems like it's pretty important in terms of finishing first or second.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference. The fourth team. If you finish number one, you get to play the 4 seed. But I don't know if playing the 4 seed is that much easier than, say, playing Clemson if they're the 3 seed, which LSU would play if they're the 2 seed. So, I don't know, man. I mean, do you want to go against Jalen Hurts if he's the number 4 team with Oklahoma? LSU's defense has had issues this year with passing quarterbacks and running quarterbacks, and he does both. So I don't really know, and I mean it's so close as far as LSU and Ohio State. I mean, I could see voting either of them number 1. I think Ohio State probably is a molecule better than LSU, but if LSU beats Georgia Saturday, I got to believe they should go up to number 1.
I think it could be an advantage depending on how this shakes out. But right now, that is not the concern of the LSU Tigers. Glenn, we'll see you in Atlanta. Thanks, as always, for coming by.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. Glenn Guilbeau? Matter of fact, comments there about Joe Brady. Very interesting analysis there. We're heading to a break. We have a couple more guests to come, including Bruce Feldman. He did a piece on the rise of course, Joe Burrow. A lot of Joes down.
Alabama's really, as you know, played 2 top 25 teams, lost to both of them. Number 2, and where's Auburn now? 11. So good losses, but and not a lot of wins over P5 teams with winning records. Defense strong. As I observed and listened to the discussion, the committee was determined to let the head-to-head mean something in that one with Auburn, and then just look who they failed below. I think people tend to look at drops without saying, "Wait a minute, what did the other teams do that they passed?" And I'm just trying to think of who lost that was who else lost that was in their mix. That they may have been the only one in their group that in their ranking that went down. Although I need to be careful about saying that because I don't know.
That's
sure.
Okay. No, I just wanted a snapshot, but.
Yeah, and you have to think about what did the other teams do. It's not just what did Team A do, but what did everybody else do? Actually, the committee will watch all the games together this weekend. That's sort of the tradition and what we do. The schedule is we will have a meeting Friday late afternoon, go through some administrative things, and just talk about anybody have any feedback on where we were last week. And then adjourn and watch the Pac-12 game. Come back Saturday morning, analyze what we saw in the Pac-12 game. Can't do any rankings because we need the other game results. And so we'll just gather for the rest of the day together watching football. And we have 2 of our members whose teams are playing, Oklahoma and Oregon, and they'll be in there right there with us in the room watching games.
There's a perception out there that the TV networks pick the teams for better ratings. I know you've heard that one before.
Oh my goodness, I've been doing this. Let me see, 31 years, 16 years in college basketball with the Final Four or with the NCAA tournament, and now this is my 15th year with college football. Every year, Paul, I hear someone say that. All of those 31 years, and it is absolutely not true. TV wouldn't want to be a part of it, and even if they did, we would say, no, you don't have anything to do with this. Get out of here. No, absolutely not.
Welcome back. We're back on the show, and glad you are with us. Yeah, somebody mentioned the other day how few Alabama fans have shown up to the party since the beating at, the loss. It wasn't a beating, 3 points, was it? Larry is up next.
I like the way you say something, but don't say it, really. The beating.
How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing fine, man. I was comatose. You know, I blistered an 18-pack like you wouldn't believe.
Okay, so let's just get facts for facts. Game ends at about 6:30 local time. How did you react?
When the game ended?
Yeah, missed field goal.
I started to go to the Coosa River Bridge and jump off.
You were that distraught? Seriously?
Yeah, hell, that's Auburn, Jack. You kidding me? I mean, the only good thing I want to listen now, man, because I got mute on my TV. But I do listen to him some. I'm not going to lie. He deserves it. They won. We lost.
Okay, so you didn't kill yourself, thank goodness.
Yeah,
so,
I felt like it. I was so depressed for like 3 days.
So that night, you had already had how many beers?
Well, I went back and I had 22 what I ended up drinking.
You drank 22 Bud Lights on Saturday?
Tall boys, 4 of them.
Tall boys?
Yes.
Well, how tall is a tall boy? I mean, how many ounces?
I don't know. I got one now. I can't see it. But
so a normal. If I walk into a bar and say, "Give me a Bud Light, a can of Bud," that's 12 ounces, right? Yeah. Bottle of beer. You essentially drank how many? How many did you say?
24 ounces. I drank 4 tall boys. Is 48 ounces.
48 ounces.
And I drank an 18-pack of tall boys. I don't know how many of them was. So
hold
48
on. You had
plus 18.
You had 22. So essentially, you had 44 beers.
Yeah. No, not 44. 18, 24.
No, Larry, you don't understand. Bottle of Bud Light's 12 ounces, right? You drank a 24, yeah, so he had. Yeah. Am I correct? You essentially had 40.
Man.
You basically walked into a bar and said, "I'll have 42 Bud Lights."
Yeah. Put them in the box. No, I got to be watching Auburn, Alabama to do that. I go beyond human strength. I go past.
Okay, Larry. So you wake up. You wake up what time the next morning?
Man, please. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to listen to nobody. I didn't want to hear this.
What's the one thing, Larry, you wanted to hear less? I mean, was it an Auburn fan? Was it this show? What was it?
Well, my most depressing moment was you on Stephen A. Smith dogging Trump. I meant he's the same.
That was on Sean Hannity. I was dogging Trump.
So talking Saban. And
so you heard me. You saw me not dogging Saban, but just being objective about where he is right now.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and I hope you don't get riled up. But I want to say just this. I'm not going to go back about all this happened. No, I'm not doing that. I don't want to keep reliving that crap. What I'm saying is if you took one of the top 4 teams and took their quarterback out, you name him, Jake Fromm.
Okay.
But wait a minute. And then you took 4.
Larry, come on, don't give me Ohio State won the national championship 5 years ago and beat your team with a third-string quarterback.
Well, I know you start that.
Florida played all year. Florida got down to 2 or 3 quarterbacks. Kentucky played all year with.
Well, I'm just saying it's hard to do.
You're not the only team that lost a quarterback.
And I'm talking about these top 4.
And by the way, your backup quarterback is out in Oklahoma right now.
Pretty damn good. Yeah, he throwed a couple of picks, but don't sit there and tell me.
Hey, Larry,
you can
I got news for you, Jack. I got news for you. You didn't lose the Auburn game because of your backup quarterback. Mac Jones played pretty well.
The offensive line done good. They had 5
you lost the game because your defense stunk.
Yeah,
okay?
Just like the field goal.
Field goal didn't cost you anything.
Let me tell you,
your defense let you down, Larry.
boy,
Auburn couldn't score against anybody, and they put 48 on you.
Hey, check this out. We give them 14.
Okay.
They put 34.
Okay.
Why don't you get it in perspective?
Well, they
Jack?
put 34 on you, which is still too many.
No problem. I doubt if we get through.
Larry, repeat after me. Repeat after me, Larry. Okay.
I'm not.
We are the number 12 football team in America.
Hey, I will
we
say
are.
this. I'm gonna
we are
repeat
number
it.
12.
Hold on.
We are nowhere near. You can't alibi this or that.
I'm just going to say that
Auburn is ranked ahead of you, Larry.
Let me repeat what you
Utah.
said.
Hey, Larry, Utah is ranked ahead of you.
I'm going to repeat after you. Alabama is number 12 in the country, but they'll always be number 1 in my heart, Jack.
Yeah.
And my damn
you also had open heart
team,
surgery
my
recently,
coach.
Larry.
So you take that and you watch us next year, son. Roll damn Tide.
That was great, Larry. Mike is up next. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Paul. I am actually drinking my second Bud Light of the day, but that's only going to amount to about 24 ounces, and I'm not through with it yet.
I'm not sure that's really a 25. Isn't a tall boy 16 ounces?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's definitely 16 ounces. Two quick things, Paul. Thanks for taking my call. The first one, because I've been trying to get this in all week, but I've come up against breaks and everything else. But anyway, you had a segment on last Friday with Brandon Marcello, a gentleman from The Athletic, and another man from, I think, Auburn Beat at the end of the show. And I just want to say that was one of the most excellent segments
I thought it was great.
I've ever seen in your show. Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, if you just love football, it was really, and I'm not saying this in a disparaging way about the segments that I see up at ESPN that you do up in New York, but it was just so nice to hear intelligent conversation, diverse opinions, and sapient, intelligent information, being, talked about. I mean, it was just a very satisfying segment. And anyway, Brandon Marcello, he's great.
Listen, I totally agree. And to me, I really enjoyed talking to callers, but I think my favorite part of the show is when I get guys like that in here and we just kick it around.
Well, it was really good. I mean, it really came off well. It did. Moving on to the game just real quickly, as a Dog fan, I'm sitting here and I'm nervous. I feel like there's a tidal wave coming at us. At the same time, as we talked about, we got a puncher's chance, and I do feel like we will punch. So, we'll see what happens. The nice thing is, for the SEC championship, for the second year in a row, we do have the best two teams in there. And it should be an excellent game, and I wish you a safe trip. Hope everybody enjoys it.
Thank you very much. We're up against a break. More to come on the program, including your phone calls, and we sent somebody out to Larry's house just to check on him. We're back. Hope you will be as well.
Motivating myself, just getting up and not having nobody tell me what I need to do. I was just thinking I could be doing something getting better right now, so I'll just get up and just go work out for like an hour or two and just clear my mind off anything.
This offseason, Georgia running back DeAndre Swift routinely worked out by himself after midnight at the indoor practice facility. No coaches, no trainers, just Swift and his drive to get better.
There's no distractions. Really on your own. Whatever you need to work at, you can really focus on drills, speed, just get my condition right. You can always get better at stuff, so just little things like that, I could elevate my game.
That shows the love that he has for this game, and not only the game, but this team. The fact that he's willing to come and sacrifice his body, outside of just the structured work that we get every week in order to make himself as good as he can for us.
It's a grind, especially at this level. Workouts, the school, being a student athlete, waking up in the morning, not going to bed until 12 or something at night. Just, you got to be self-motivated. You don't need to have somebody wake you up in the morning and tell you to go here and go there.
While Swift's late-night workouts started as a solo endeavor, they became a group activity as younger running backs Zamir White and James Cook joined into the after-hours grind.
The example was set for me when I was young. So now I'm in that older guy, I'm in that role. I I believe it's a good idea just to set the example, be that big brother figure for them, do everything right on and off the field so they can see how it's supposed to be done.
DeAndre has a lot of the same characteristics as Fromm. Both of them have the desire to win and succeed more than they have the desire to sleep. Seeing them do what they do is going to give these young guys confidence to go in there and do the same exact thing, so hopefully they can get to that level one day.
Swift got room over midfield, 45-40, near sideline, touchdown! Swift done it again!
I just love the process. I love the grind. It's things that people don't get to see. They just see the output that we get to do on Saturdays, and they don't see the hard work and the dedication that it really takes to.
Chicago, who is up next?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Jimmy.
It was interesting to hear your conversations with Chip and Glenn. In regard to what Georgia needs to do to win the game, obviously it's to, execute a ball control offensive plan. But in my mind, unless I'm mistaken, Tajer is not even going to be able to play if they made the playoffs. And so he's not available. And when they didn't have him in the other game he missed, it was against South Carolina. And they're going to be without Pickens for the first half.
Well, that is turning out to be really stupid, what he did.
It was just ridiculous as far ahead as they were. And, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Alabama's playoff game against Washington when in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, Washington players were trying to instigate fights so that Alabama guys would, get involved and maybe get thrown out of the game and have to miss a half of the championship game. But he fell for it. It's a really unfortunate thing. And to me, they are the two elite receivers they have. And if they have no passing game, and on top of that, they don't even know the status, according to Chip, of Swift.
No, listen, that's why I kept pushing him, and I think we both agree with Georgia's defense, but I really worry about their production.
Yeah, and on top of that, against they as good as they've been, they hadn't seen an offense like LSU.
No.
And if they're going to have to be out on the field a significant amount of time in the ball game, that's going to be a big problem also.
Listen, I think, and everyone's saying the opposite, but I think LSU would have to just come out with their heads elsewhere for that game to get off to a good start for Georgia.
And there's no reason whatsoever they would come out not being focused. They know if they win this game, I don't think there's any doubt they're going to leapfrog Ohio State just because of their resume, the number of quality teams they've beaten. I don't disagree that Ohio State, has been probably the more complete team all year, but they can't match the number of quality victories.
Well, nobody would.
Up.
I mean, listen, nobody's going to have a win over the number 4 team in the country.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
And it's a big deal for LSU if they win the ball game to play in the exact location where they just won the SEC championship. And then the number 4 team. They are such a big drop off from the top 3 teams to the number 4 team. I mean, to me, it's glaring. And it's a really big deal to be the number 1 team. I couldn't agree more. So LSU's got all the incentive in the world, and there's also, being national champions obviously is an incredible accomplishment, but there's just something extra about being an undefeated national champion, I think. You really have a special place, in your school's history. And I think they're really motivated. And again, I just think their scheme's going to be really difficult to deal with. And I think Edwards-Helaire has really turned out to be a huge star in the final month of the season, and he's going to be a handful to deal with. So, I just really like LSU in this game. They would have to play really poorly not to win the game, because I just think, and I'm a big Fromm fan, but he's just not playing with a full load of weapons that they would normally have.
Great to have you on. Thank you, Jimmy. Always appreciate it. Let's go to Linda, who is in Texas. Linda, you're on the air.
Hi, Paul. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
I just want we travel the West a lot, and Utah is by far one of the most beautiful states you will ever see. And if you ever get an opportunity, they got Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon. I'm trying to think. Arches, Canyonlands.
Listen, I've heard that. I was out at the Grand Canyon this spring, and a couple of people were telling me about a specific place in Utah that rivals or beats the Grand Canyon.
Moab.
Yeah, but I can tell you right now, if you ever see me in Utah, I will be a hostage.
Well, you can come drive with us, ride with us. No, they have 3 million people. They're mostly all
many?
lined up along the interstate.
I had that many people in my neighborhood last night in New York.
Well, that's true. But I'm in a little town in Texas with 2,500 people. So.
Well, no, listen, I am saddened that I'll never get to see some of the sights that you just described.
Well, they are beautiful, and John Ford went to Moab after Monument Valley and filmed several films there.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and Moab, and actually we were there a couple of years ago and went out and saw where they made that movie, and it's a neat little restaurant that overlooks the Colorado.
Not only will I never go to Utah, I'll never use salt again.
Why? Oh, Salt Lake. Oh, Lord.
Hey, thank you very much. We're up against a break. 2 more hours to go.
Why?
Hey guys, this is my friend Barry.
Hi. Unlimited data, Barry?
Ranked #1 in customer service by J.D. Power, Barry.
Let me take your coat, you little award winner, you.
Actually,
Welcome back, and it's that time for Zim.
Yeah, Paul, time for today's headlines. As you know, we have 3 coaching vacancies currently open in the SEC. It's been quite a week of speculation, rumors. There's even been some fake Twitter accounts. But one thing we did learn today is that there's one name we can cross off the list of candidates, and that is Washington State coach Mike Leach. Washington State announcing a 1-year contract extension today. ESPN's Chris Lowe reported that Leach had conversations with Arkansas about its coaching job, but it appears for the time being that Leach will remain in Pullman. And speaking of coaches, Greg Schiano, he took a little jab at Tennessee fans during his introductory press conference at Rutgers yesterday. Unlike at Tennessee, where Vols fans protested against hiring Schiano 2 years ago, Rutgers fans voiced their outrage at not hiring Schiano last week. Asked about that yesterday, Schiano said, quote, "It just shows Jersey people are a little sharper. They get it."
Oh, sure.
Paul, I'm curious your reaction.
You know,
to
one
these
thing I would love is a Tennessee-Rutgers bowl game. The only problem with that, Rutgers will never get to a bowl game.
Yeah, maybe the Tax Slayer Bowl. But, you know, I was kind of hoping that Tennessee fans wouldn't become obsessed with the results of Rutgers football games. But, you know, after these comments from Schiano, I wouldn't blame them if they kind of
So you're saying the people in Jersey are sharper. They may have sharper objects on them, but they're not sharper than. I'm a Tennessean. He's talking to me. You're talking to me, Greg.
I'm siding with Tennessee on that.
You're talking to me. Jersey? I mean, I've been to Rutgers.
Well, I'm siding with you.
They have
They
have a beautiful toxic waste dump right next door to the campus. Tennessee's on the river. It's a beautiful campus. The mountains, the river. I mean, come on, Greg. That's.
Paul, we're going from Jersey here across the pond. We got one more news item for you here. Kentucky basketball. They're playing Michigan in London next year at the O2 Arena. So Big Blue Nation, get your passports out. You're heading to London.
My grandfather's from London. I'm going. He's not alive, but I'm still going.